Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a wonderful day today. Today we are doing the mid-year book tag, as you saw by the title, and we are answering questions based on my reading so far this year. So to say the least, so far this year it's been an interesting reading year. I've tried to put less pressure on my reading, but we started off with a bang and then we delved a little bit slower into a book slump into the start of the year because I wasn't getting any 5 stars. But now we're back and hopefully the reading is fixed and we'll go through all the books that I have read thus far. So let's go into the first question. So question number 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2026. And the fact that I have only gotten 2 5 stars so far this year should tell you how many is on this list. I was really struggling at the start of the year, as I said, to get a 5 star. My reading was slowing down. I was starting to doubt the romantasy genre in general, and I was trying to delve outwards to try and find better ones from there. And I decided to start reading some shorter books in some videos that I was filming, and so I picked up 6 Scorched Roses, and this was such an easy 5 star that I don't even know how I put this off so long. This was so good and everything that I needed at the time. And it was so good, in fact, that I decided to reread The Serpent and the Wings of Night. So these are both 5-star reads for this year. These are the only books that I've rated 5 stars. I enjoyed these so much. I'm hoping in the second half of the year I find more 5 stars. But until then, these are the ones that have gone really well for me. These are in the same world. We've got vampires in these worlds, and I don't know. They're just really, really good, and I really enjoyed them, and I should probably continue the series so that I find more 5 stars maybe. But yes, that's the books that I've read that are the best so far this year. And question number 2 is the worst book I've read so far in 2026. And this is very easy to answer because it's the only book that I've rated 1 star all year, and that is Backstroke by L.B. Martin. This was just a horrible book in my opinion. It was a dark romance, and it's not that I'm not liking dark romance, it's that was a bad dark romance. It was a college swimming romance, and as a previous swimmer, I was actually appalled by the lack of research into the swimming races themselves. And in fact, if the character had have been in the real world, he wouldn't have been as sought after as he apparently was. And also, I don't think he would have been winning those races, if I'm being honest. And that's putting aside every other thing wrong with this book. This is actually harmful to people who don't understand what BDSM or anything to do with that world is, and I just found it quite horrifying in some respects, but also it was just ticking off every single box that it could as far as dark romance, and it threw everything that it could into that to make it a dark romance. Every single trope you can think of was essentially in this book, and it just wasn't done well, and I didn't enjoy it, and I'm glad it was an ARC copy and I didn't invest my hard-earned money into that book. So question number 3 is the best sequel you've read so far this year. And I have been notoriously this year disappointed by sequels. The Shield of Sparrow sequel, I didn't find as enjoyable as the first one. I don't know, I'm having trouble with sequels. So the only sequel that is the best out of all the ones that I've read is not a 5 star, but it's pretty high up there. It got a 4 star, I believe, and that is Heat of the Everflame by Penn Cole. Now, I read this recently, so it is still fresh in my mind. There were a lot of things in this book that frustrated me. It took me on an emotional roller coaster, but it is in fact the best sequel that I've read this year. It was better than the previous book before it. I just feel like this year in my reading, I haven't found as many good books as I would have wanted to, and in saying that, I've been avoiding sequels because I've been so intimidated that they are not going to go well for me. I've been so in my head about it, but this is the best one I've read so far this year, and I'm very excited for the last one in this series to come out at, I think it's September, I could be wrong. I'm really excited for that, because to finish off this series and find some answers for things that are happening would be amazing. And I just can't wait for that book to come out. But yes, this is the best sequel that I've read so far this year. Question number 4 is the worst sequel that I've read so far this year. And it's not hard to figure out what one that is, because I think this one got a 2.5 stars. It should have been a 2 stars. It didn't live up to the hype of the first one. I feel like it was basically a copy paste of the first one, but like it got watered down a lot, and I just didn't care a lot about the characters, and that was Dove by Paisley Hope. Now, if you're new to my channel, you won't know this, but I am obsessed with Paisley Hope. She is a guilty pleasure author for me, and all of her books, they don't get rated high, but they get rated better than this. And this book was disappointing to me. It gave away the ending in the first chapter. It didn't reach the level of the first book. I'm hoping the third book is reaching the level of the first book, because we're following another motorcycle club. But this one was the worst sequel that I've read this year, unfortunately. And I do feel like it might have just been rushed, or maybe it's because she intended the first book to be the only book in the series. I don't know. But yeah, this one, disappointing. Question number 5 is a new release that I haven't read yet but want to. And I have a list, but I'm going to slim down my list a little bit to ones that I can't stop thinking about. Number 1 on that list is Beneath by Ariel Sullivan, and In Turn, Conform by Ariel Sullivan. I cannot stop thinking about this book. I don't know why. I don't really know what it's about. I know it's dystopian, but I've heard so many people say so many good things about it. I have Conform on my Kindle library, and I cannot get my hands on Beneath, which is the prequel series, but I'm hoping to. They are on my list. I really want to read them. I don't know how new of releases they are. I think maybe end of last year, but they're new to me, and I do want to get my hands on them. The next one that I want to read is Shadow Reaper by Lynette Noni. I've been following this from its conception. From the moment that she was talking about this being a book that she was writing, I was on board. I am so excited to read this. This is one of those books that I have been following for so long that now I'm like trying to put it off, because I know that this is going to be a while until a sequel comes out, and I know it's going to be good, but I really do want to read this year. I don't want to wait too much longer. Like, she's put shiny stars on the sprayed edges. They're black sprayed edges with shiny stars. I know the UK edition isn't the same as this, or US edition, I think, but the Australian edition has the shiny stars, and it's so good, and I can't wait to read it. Another book I want to read is The Burning Side by Sarah Damoff. I read her book last year, The Bright Years. That was her debut novel, and I really enjoyed it, and I just want to get my hands on the second one and read it and see if it's just as good. I would like to cry again. That would be great. I need more books that make me cry this year. Another new release that I haven't read yet is Ballad of Falling Dragons. I just recently read the first book, and I'm waiting for, I think, next month for me and my friends to read it together, the sequel. And so that's one that I'm definitely going to read, new release. Another one is Starside by Alex Aster. I've been hearing so many good things about it, and I would like to read it before Stormside comes out at the end of the year, so that I'm ready for that. Another one I want to read is Half City by Kate Golden, because I've heard it's like Buffy the Vampire Slayer, but in a school. I am really intrigued by that, because I have read A Dawn of Onyx by Kate Golden, and I'm really hoping that this series is just as good as that one was. I also want to read Red Winter. I believe it's sitting behind me here. I'm just excited to read that, not because of the author or anything, but because it's following the Beast of Gévaudan, and that's a werewolf story, and it'd be interesting to see how it goes into historical aspects of that. I also want to read The Unicorn Hunters by Catherine Arden. She is an author I haven't read from before, but I like unicorns, and I feel like from what I've heard about her books, I am going to enjoy her writing, and I really do want to get into her writing as well. Another one is A Stage Set for Villains by Shannon J. Span. Is that what it is? Yeah. I really want to read that book because I've heard so many good things about it. I think it's young adult, but that's okay. This one's young adult too. I don't mind at all. And the last one that's on my really want to read list is Mad Mabel by Sally Hepworth. I just really want to know what everyone's hyping about with that book. I really want to see what it's all about and just, read it. I don't know. The cover intrigues me. The premise intrigues me. I just want to get it in my grubby little hands. The next question is most anticipated release for the rest of the year. And I have a couple that are on my list. The first one being the new ACOTAR book, obviously, because we've been waiting a while for that one. The next one is The Last King of Fairy by Cassandra Clare. She's an author that I grew up reading. She's the first author that I read that had like a proper built out universe of books. And I'm really excited to see where she expands it from here because it has been a fair while since the last book release. I also want to read The Knave and the Moon by Rachel Gillig. That is, I believe, the last book in the duology for The Night and the Moth. I really enjoyed that first book and I'm really intrigued to see where it goes from here. I also want to read Grim Tidings at the End of the Year by B.K. Borison. That's a sequel to a Christmas book I actually really liked last year, and that's the only Christmas book that I have enjoyed from memory, so I'm really looking forward to that one. And finally, Eyes of Kings by Chloe Gong is one that I'm really anticipating. It's the third book in Immortal Longing series that is sitting just here. And I'm really excited to see whether she comes back to how good the first book was, because the second book was a little bit of a letdown, but I can see where it's going and expanding, and I'm really excited for that. Question 7 is the biggest surprise of this year. And if I'm being honest, the ones that surprised me most were not in my known genres. The first one is a magical realism, which is The Unmaking of June Farrow. That one really shocked me with how good it was. That was a 4.5 stars. I didn't expect that author to be as good as she is, but for some reason she just came out of the woodwork just doing something great. And I can't wait to continue her books in the future. And the second book that really surprised me that I didn't expect to be this good was The Possession of Alba Diaz by Isabel Canas. I was so excited to read this book based on what people were saying about it, but I didn't think that I would like it as much. And oh my God, did it shock me. I loved how it wasn't just a horror story. It was a love story in one, and it was a love story that wasn't trying to impress anyone. And it ended where no one else knows what became of them in the end. And I just loved it so much, and I can't wait to read more of her books in the future. She did such a good job with that book, and it was such a surprise to me. It was another 4.5 stars. I think that one is one that if I didn't listen to the audiobook, if I had have read it physically instead, it could have reached a 5-star. And I'm disappointed that I didn't do that. But in the future, I might reread it like that. Question 8 is favorite new author to me. Devoney Perry is pretty high up there. I've really enjoyed her Shield of Sparrows series. As much as the sequel disappointed me a little bit, it was less the writing and more the fact that they were traveling a whole lot, and that's a personal issue of mine. But I love the monsters that she writes. They're so vivid, and I just really enjoy reading her books, and it was really enjoyable for me, like all round. Another author that I just realized that I really enjoy is one that I just said, Isabel Canas. I really want to enjoy more of her books from here on out, but she was a surprise that came in and got me by the throat a little bit. And the other one is, again, one that I just talked about, The Unmaking of June Farrow, Adrienne Young. She is an author that I will definitely be reading from in the future, and I can see her as a new favourite author infinitely. Question 9 is newest fictional crush, and I'm sorry to say I have not been attached enough to anyone this year to have them as a crush. I think the closest we've gotten is Vale from Six Scorched Roses, and if I'm being honest with you, he was giving more older gentleman. But yes, he's probably the best one that I've read thus far. All the other ones I haven't obsessed over. So take with that what you will. Question 10 is a book that made you cry. And the only book this year that has made me cry, and it's purely from shock value, and why would we do that, is Wild Dark Shore by Charlotte McConaughey. I bawled my eyes out at the end of this. There is footage of that somewhere on my channel that I refuse to acknowledge. it hit me hard for no reason other than why did we do that? That didn't have to happen. Okay, yep, that's all I'm saying. That's the only book that has made me cry so far this year. A book that made me happy this year. There are 2 books that made me happy that I was grinning, kicking my feet, which was Freeing the Wild by Paisley Hope. I had such a good time with this. It made me so happy. Again, my reading hasn't been fantastic this year, so the fact that this even got me was so good. And again, I keep bringing it back. 6 Scorched Roses made me so happy because it was my first 5-star of the year. Like, I was so shocked when I finished this. I was trying to convince myself that it wasn't a 5-star. I'm like trying to sit there thinking what made it not a 5-star. I was just so relieved and so happy when this became a 5-star. Question number 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought so far. And out of all the books that I have bought for myself, it is definitely the one that I spent the most money on, which is the hardcover of Shadow Reaper. Again, these spines are so pretty. The black with the shiny stars is so beautiful. The back with the black and the shiny stars along it, the red, and the front. Oh, it's just so, so pretty. I love it so much. I don't buy a lot of hardcover books, but when I saw this one, I knew I had to have it. And I had to have it in the best edition that I could find. So I really, really love this one. There's not many others that I've found beautiful that I've bought this year because I haven't bought many books this year because I've been trying to get through my physical TBR. So this one is in fact the prettiest one that I have. And the final question number 13, is what books do you need to read by the end of the year? Now, there's a lot of books I want to read by the end of the year, but in reality and time-wise, I have slimmed that list down to books that I do need to read by the end of the year. The number 1 book in that list, along with the book that comes after this one, is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. I also have to read the 3rd book in this series before the next book comes out because I don't want to miss out on any little Easter eggs or any information that I needed to know. So yes, I really, really need to read this book before the end of the year. I also need to read Accomplice to the Villain so that when Adversary to the Villain comes out, I can read it straight away. I believe that's going to be the last book in the series. And I do, in fact, want to finish the books out so that I know what happens because I love these books so much. They're so humorous and funny and just warms my soul. So I really, really need to read this before that book comes out. The next book that I really need to read before the end of the year, although my friends will probably stab me in my sleep, is Quicksilver by Callie Hart. They really want to read this together though, so this will be a buddy read for us, but I need to read it before the end of the year because they are so mad that I haven't read this yet. If I'm being honest, I avoided it until they got the new covers because I did not like the old covers at all and I couldn't read a book willingly that had that on the front cover. So this is another book that I really need to read. And the last book that I really need to read before the end of the year is Fallen Stars by Imani Eriu. I need to read this before the 3rd one comes out because I fear that I'm going to be obsessed. And also, if I put this off any longer, the other one will get put off longer and I won't remember the first book. So I really need to read this before the next one comes out. Immensely excited to see where this goes from where I ended off. So there are all the questions in the mid-year book tag. I hope that I answered them well. It was a little bit harder to pull together books that I really enjoyed and such because I, again, haven't had the best reading year. I've had a lot of 4 stars, don't get me wrong, a lot of 3.5 and 4-star reads this year. And I've been struggling in the department of 5 stars. But in saying that, I haven't had as many low-rated books either. So we're doing well. I'm hoping for good luck in the rest of the year. I'd love to hear what your favourite books are so far this year. And I'm excited to see what everyone else reads as well as what I finish off the year with this year. I'm hoping for at least 2 more 5 stars. We will see how we go. I hope you enjoyed this video. I'd love to see you in my next video, but until then, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your month and a wonderful rest of your reading year, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.